I'm Karim Bashir, and joining me for the gold medal match in the compound women's team event is international Dutch archer Chef Vandenberg. Chef, brilliant setting here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful, and the weather is great for the archers, I think.
Yeah, and here's how the teams got to this gold medal match. Fairly comfortable semi-final matches for both Italy and Turkey. Germany took the bronze, beating Belgium a little bit earlier on in the week. And as you can see, we are right in the heart of the city here. A beautiful cathedral, very unusual roof. A city that was majorly rebuilt after the Second World War is full of a fantastic mix of architecture. But here come the teams. It's compound women's team gold.
Panie i panowie, przywitajmy zawodniczki w pojedynku o złoty medal w łukach mieczkowych zespołów kobiet.
Please welcome the archers for compound women's team gold medal match.
Na stanowisku numer 2 reprezentantki Turcji.
On target number 2 representing Turkey. This is Boston.
So here are the Turkish team, led by the world number 1, yes, Bostan Gezim Omagakli. Also lining up is Isabera Souza. He took out Germany in the semi-finals. 231 point score, so a big score for the Turkish team, and they will face the Italians.
The Italians, who have respectively shot 1 point more in the semi-finals and the quarterfinals than the team of Turkey, so they're no small feat either.
They aren't indeed. Anastasio, fabulous name there, joined by Irini Francini and Marcello Tonioli. Good team, the Italians, Chef.
Yeah, buckets of experience.
So we wait for the line judge to clear the range, safe for shooting. And Chef, while we look on and we see the Italians will be shooting first on target 1. Just explain how compound archery works.
So in the compound division, we're going to see a cumulative score, which means that they will shoot 24 arrows in total, and the highest score wins. And they will do this by shooting 3 arrows. The one team will shoot 3 arrows, then the other team will shoot 3 arrows. They do that twice, so there's 6 arrows on the target. And then every time they get the arrows back, they do it again until they have 24 arrows on the target. And the simply highest score wins, so there's no set system here.
They split into ends, and it's the Italians to shoot first. Well, a good start from the Italians.
That's probably one of the quickest compound starts I've ever seen to a match. Pull back, aim, and release. Simple as that.
Altezza perfetta. Forse tocca la riga del 10 ore 9.
Second 2 arrows just drifting to the left a little bit, and look, let's not kid each other. This is a 50-meter range. It's a long way down there, and they're hitting something not much bigger than the size of an apple.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's an even better first arrow from the Turkish team.
We have to keep in mind that these archers have shot a little on the qualification field, which is about 1 kilometer from here. And then they went here in a bus, and they got the chance to shoot some arrows at 5 meters, but the conditions might not be exactly the same. It doesn't seem to bother the Turkish team.
Anchored by the world number 1, yes, in Boston. Perfect score from the Turkish team to start. They lay down a marker here in Poland.
Sì, re, grande freccia, 10
Again,
pieno,
with the
così.
10, Italy.
10 Włochy.
So even though Italy is doing really well, Turkey still has a chance to rack up some points in the first end. Just out again.
Forse
On the
tocca la
left.
riga del
But
10.
like you say, Chef, this is about a cumulative score, so you can fall behind and recover.
Yeah, you can.
No, lo so,
Marcella
però
Tonioli
è
is
molto vicino.
a very experienced shooter, so
Sì, Marci, grande.
she hits an X.
Grande,
So
grande.
10, Italy.
possible 3-point lead for Turkey.
They'll need a maximum for that. They got a maximum in the first 3.
That's a good start to a maximum score. She seems surprised by it herself.
Just drifting out into the 9 there. So still a chance for a 2-point lead as the winner of the Antalya Bandai Archery World Cup Series event, yes, in Boston, takes to the range.
And another 9, so the gap is closed to 1 point now.
Well, 58 and 57 out of a possible maximum of 60 is pretty good. You hinted earlier on that the conditions are looking good for high scores.
Yeah, pretty much perfect. There's a nice flat light. There's pretty much no wind. So, yeah, if it's up to me, we're up for some really high scores.
Yeah, well, it started well. As we just looked down to the agents, the members of the Italian and the Turkish teams just checking the scores. Unusually for team matches, there hasn't been too much communication here so far. Is that because the conditions are that good?
Yeah, normally you see the teams mostly talk about the wind and the conditions on the field. So if you shoot an arrow and it drifts off, or you shoot a 10 and you haven't aimed the arrow into the 10, you let your teammates know, like, I aimed that arrow in the 9 on the right, so they can adjust their aiming as well. But since there's no wind here, it's just fun and games.
Certainly an impressive start from both teams here. The scores will continue to accumulate as we go into the second end here.
Turkish team is all smiles, so we're still feeling it.
Zaczynają strzelać jako pierwszy.
Italian team seems a bit more serious.
So Italy will shoot first. The trailing team always goes first in archery.
Appena fuori dal 10 ore a mezzogiorno.
Italy 9.
9 Włochy.
You see the bows the archers are using here are a complicated setup with pulleys.
Yeah, we in the sport we call them cams, and they're not round, so they're more like oval shaped, which means that if you pull back your bow, you have a peak weight, and then it drops back to about 1/3 of the weight that you have on the bow. So let's say she shoots 50 pounds, she probably has about 17 pounds in the back that she still has as a holding weight. So to hold your bow and aim is a lot easier with a compound than with a recurve for that reason. Also, you can see that close to her eye there's a little round dot in the string, and that's a circle that you can look through to your scope, and you can align your scope and your string so that you always have the same alignment. And then there's the scope on the compound. You can see there's a big black thing on her side with a lens in it. The fact that it has a lens makes it different to recurve. In recurve, you're not allowed to have any magnification, and in compound, you can choose your magnification and you can pick the one that fits you best.
10 centralne, Turcja.
Well, Italy just sneaking back to tie scores. They'll shoot their second 3 arrows in this second end. And Chef, compound archery trying to get into the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Sì, grande.
Recurve is the traditional Olympic discipline in archery.
Centralna dziesiątka, Włochy.
Compound archery, well, certainly from my own perspective, slightly easier bow to start the sport with.
You would say so, but there's also a lot more to think about. So
Scusa, 10.
with a compound bow, you'll probably find that it's really difficult to control all the things you have to control, whereas with a recurve you can just start off with the movement and start making your muscles understand what you're doing.
Sì, Marci, grande.
It's 129 again.
Włochy.
So most
10,
people, at least in Europe, I think,
Sofia.
start with a recurve, and then if they like archery and they are interested in compound shooting, they switch to compound, or they stay with the recurve because they like it more.
Whilst there are some archers that compete in both, traditionally you do stick to one discipline.
Yeah.
Turcja 9.
A 10 here to tie things up for the world number 1 and the Turkish team. That's exactly what she got. So we're all level after the second end, halfway through the match. Chef, those scores still looking pretty big. Maximum of 120 possible at this stage.
Yeah, so they dropped 5 points. It is, on average, it's more than they did in the previous 2 rounds, but the conditions are not the same, of course. You're shooting in front of a big crowd, and there's a medal at stakes. So I can imagine if the people shoot at slightly less big of a score. But still, 115, if you multiply that by 2, you get a 230, which is a really good score. They would have won all the other matches with a 230 as well, until now.
But like you're saying, Chef, it's an unusual set of circumstances here in Legnica with the... it's not unusual for the qualification to take place in a slightly bigger arena, a bigger field with lots of targets, but usually for the finals, the practice field is literally right next door.
It is, yeah. I think our hotel is 1 kilometer from here, maybe less. So, yeah, it's nice that you can just walk to the finals venue and watch, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that the tribunes are completely full. And it's such great scenery. So.
Yeah, it is a fantastic city. Unknown treasure, I would say, in the southwest corner of Poland. Scenes of something out of a fairy tale, you would say.
Almost, yeah. I think it's great that there's so many buildings from a really long time ago that are still well preserved.
Well, Italy, whilst level with Turkey, will shoot first here in the third end. Gold medal at stake at the European Championships and the women's compound team event.
9 basso, ore 5.
Since that was a really long sentence and she was on full draw for the whole sentence, I think that cost her a bit. Her first shot went right in the middle after holding it for a really short period of time.
Sì, Anna, X, grande Anna, grande.
10, centralny, Włochy.
Very color coordinated.
9 alle 10.
Włochy 9.
Well, maybe a small door has opened here for the Turkish team.
she walks right through it.
10, 6, Turkey.
Turcja 10,
You have to keep in
centralny.
mind that there's also the element of time here. So you get 2 minutes to shoot 6 arrows, which comes down to 20 seconds to get on the line, shoot your arrow, and get off the line again.
Al biraz aşağı.
I think there's a lot of archers that would struggle with that if they didn't practice it before. I think all 6 of these girls know how to handle this, but it does bring another element to your shooting.
Lovely stuff there from the world number 1.
Turcja 10, centralny.
Scire, pieno, a ore 4.
10, Italy.
10, Włochy.
So in this situation, all Italy can do is just try to shoot as high a score as possible to put some pressure on Turkey. They're only trailing by 1 point, virtually,
9 alle 2, Anna.
but they still want to make sure that Turkey has to shoot 10s to stay ahead.
Sì, grande Marci.
Nice stuff there from Tognoli at the end. It's simple in concept, this sport. Hit the centre of the target more consistently than your opponents, but when you bring together all the nuances of the sport, as you were saying, Chef, the time counting down, trying to keep your concentration and your nerve, and that's just drifted off and to the right there. The pressure is incredible.
Now the pressure is on Turkey for shooting 2 10s to even tie up the score. And effectively there is no tactics in this sport because you always have to hit the middle. But you can put pressure on the opponent if you're trailing by just keeping the arrows in the middle. Because the pressure on your opponent will grow because they have to shoot 10s to stay ahead.
Well, a 10 was minimum required really for Yeşim Boston Turkey. They trail by a point as we start the final end of this gold medal match, Chef. And the Italians, well, they came from behind, levelled up, and now they've taken the lead. Who's got the pressure on them now? Can Turkey relax because they've just got to shoot their best?
Turkey is going to shoot first because they're trailing. And I think trailing 1 point in a cumulative team match is not a terrible place to be because you can really put pressure on your opponent, and if you do it well, they might miss, and then so I think the cards are still open.
Geçmek yok, haydi.
Well, you can see that
Hadi Ayşe, hazırlan.
deep discussion. They're looking very relaxed though.
Włochy prowadzą 172 do
I feel they're getting used to this situation since they have
Yeşim, hadi maç başlıyor.
done quite well. I would say this year, but also the year before. And I think they train
Hadi Ayşe.
together a lot, which also makes the team bonding stronger. So
Just waiting for the range to be cleared. There is that wonderful cathedral, quite spectacular building.
it is, yeah.
So Turkey trailing by 1.
Bu kadar ya.
And effectively, this is all they can do. Just shoot 10s and hope that Italy will shoot outside of the 10 ring.
Well, it was right on the line of the 10-9 ring, but in archery they're generous with the scores. That will be marked as a 10.
And another one.
Turcja 10.
So funny enough, the arrow that's on the line of the 10 counts as the same score as if you would hit the absolute middle of the target.
Turkey 9.
Whereas in,
Turcja
I
9.
think, for instance, air rifle shooting, you can shoot a 10.8 or a 10.7. In archery, it's all rounded scores, so you have 10, 9, 8, 7, etc.
Sire, magnifica.
Well, that's a pretty decent start to the final end for the Italians.
Centralna 10.
They can afford to drop a single point here in this end and still win the gold medal match here at the European Championships.
I'm sure they just want to shoot 10s. They don't want to drop a point.
Włochy 10.
Novelle 10, Marcus. Pieno.
So like you said, they drop 1 point, but they're still 1 point ahead.
3 arrows left for each team here.
Turkey really needs a good score to put the pressure on.
9 sağda.
Turcja 9.
Dokuz. 6 önünde, 3 önünde,
Turcja
10
9.
önünde. Hatta 11 önünde. 3 farklı yere ok attın yani.
She's holding on to this one for a while.
No.
Doesn't make it work.
To be fair to her, Bostan has only dropped 3 points in the whole match.
So if they keep this in the gold, they'll take home the gold medal.
27 points, maximum 30 required for the Italians.
Centralna 10.
Those two arrows were touching, so that close they were together in the X-ring. So I would say she did her part in this end.
Whoa, now that one's dropped out. That's the lowest score we've seen from either team in this entire match. And the pressure now is on Tonioli.
She needs a 10 to win this. Oh, and she gets a 9. So
9, so Chef all level, 227 after the 4 ends for both teams.
Haydi kızlar.
you start today with the shoot off.
Daha büyük, yukarıdaki daha büyük
Both teams
yardımcı
will
olamaz
shoot
bize.
3 arrows.
Volevo dirti milagroso.
And the highest score wins effectively. But if their scores are the same, the arrow closest to the center will win the match. So
Jeżeli zdarzy
Well,
się
they're
nam
just checking the scores here. Target judge
Hadi.
confirming with the agents the scores there.
Hadi bakalım.
2 stray arrows in the whole match, Chef. One from the Italians in the third end, drifted off into an 8, and one from the Turkish team. Sorry, it's one from the
İzleyelim.
Italians drifted off into a 7 in that last end. It was the Turks who drifted off into an 8 in the third end. But other than
Hadi
that,
canlar.
he's been
Hadi birer tane en iyi okulumuzu okuyacağız. Sonra gideceğiz.
yeah, it's not
Var
bad.
var İstiklal Marşı'nı okuyacağız sonra.
Sure, we're going to see even higher scores, but this is a good start.
Doğrudur.
And now you have to imagine being the Turkish team, shooting 3 9s in the end, thinking, this was probably it, and then still having to go into a shoot-off. They're probably happy about it.
Yeah.
And Italy could have won this easily in the last end, and now they still have to shoot a shoot-off. So there's 2 different mindsets to this shoot-off, I think.
Well, it just goes to show shooting first and laying down a marker can sometimes work out very well. It certainly put the pressure on the Italians, who trailed at the beginning, drew level and took the lead. And they've, in some respects, I suppose, gifted this tiebreaker to the Turkish
Almost,
team.
yeah. I think the 5th arrow in the Italians' end was just a little oops. It sometimes happens that your shot doesn't go off at the moment you want it to go off, and I think that's exactly what happened here. And now they're all level, so...
Well, now the Italians will shoot first here. They get to lay down the marker and perhaps switch roles and put the pressure on Turkey.
So in this shoot-off, you'll see that Italy will shoot an arrow, then get off the line, and Turkey will shoot an arrow, and they'll do this until they both have 3 arrows on the target.
European goal at stake.
Very much as good as an arrow can get, especially in the shoot-off, since you can also get a close to center goal.
So pressure on Sousa now. Still a 10.
Turcja 10.
But virtually, Italy is now ahead because they have a closer to center arrow. So if they both shoot a 30 and one of the teams has an arrow that's closer to the center than the other team, they still win.
Well, that one's drifted up into the 8.
Ben demedim mi?
Not happy
Gizem.
about it.
No,
Hadi güzelim.
Anastasio there.
So if they just keep it together now.
Hadi güzelim. Doğru yerde bırak yeter bize. Yes.
10.
Turcja 10.
Well, a 10 is the bare minimum that's required here.
Sì, Marci, grande.
She gets.
Haydi Yeşim. Haydi güzelim.
Yasim has to shoot at least a 9, because if she shoots an 8, they both have 28, but the arrow from Italy is closer to the middle. So a 9 to win.
World number 1, Yeşim Boston, going for European gold.
And it's a 10.
And she's absolutely nailed it. They snuck into a tiebreaker, a shoot-off with the Italians, but Turkey have taken the European gold medal here in Legnica. What a fascinating match there, Chef.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened on those last 2 arrows of Anastasia, but I'm sure she'll look back at the footage and try to learn something from it.
Evet.
That's what I would do, at least. See what went wrong and try to prevent to do it next time.
Yeah.
Well, there they are. The European gold medalists in the women's compound team event. And Turkey will be standing on top of the podium a little bit later
Bravo
on
kızlar.
here
Tebrik ederiz.
in Poland. Italy will, well, they'll be pleased with their silver medal after a week of competition here in southwest Poland.